it is time to jump on into our second semifinal matchup, which is going to be between TangTang, our season winner, and Artemisia, our Chinese challenger, who's really trying to make a name for himself and establish himself among those top competitors. So to bring you that series, it's going to be myself and Berto Burrito. So see you in a bit, Spooz.
Yeah, have fun with Berto.
All right, we're here with Berto. Berto, unfortunate there for your teammate and friend Jaking to fall to fatigue there. I saw you type in our production chat a big kind of Wilhelm no scream there when you realized the math, but we're now turning our attention onto the next series. And before we jump on into the matches and all the action, let's take a quick look at the decks there, starting with this this Germany-Italy deck here from Artemisia. This is just the straight up Alpine deck.
Yeah, it looks just like it did, 4 or 5 months ago, right? Like,
I think it's weird that it's here. I mean, it just kind of came out of nowhere, but we've seen it be successful, and well, let's see if it can continue that streak. So we jump on over to the next deck here. Again, fairly stable deck here. The Brit Air, now packing USA as an ally. And then the final deck here for Artemisia, that's going to be USA Poland. Is there anything that kind of stands out to you in this deck lineup, or is this just a solid, good tournament deck lineup here from Artemisia?
I feel like Through the Breach is pretty weird in this current meta. Because so many people are trying to avoid things that have 2 health in the first place and 1 health, with United We Stand being such a powerful and commonly played card, that you're not seeing as many of the things that you want to hit Through the Breach with. Like, if you're playing against air, Through the Breach can be really hard to make good use out of. Or if, somebody's playing... there's just a lot of really good 1-crews at the moment. Red Devils...
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if he finds value with Through the Breach. I mean, it worked out for him in that one match we've seen the deck, but let's see if it works out in the future as well. As we swap on over to what TangTang is bringing, and again, we're seeing a couple of Alpine regiments there, and basically seeing another Alpine deck here.
Yeah, pretty much the exact same.
Yeah, what do these guys know that we don't? I mean, they're here in the semifinals. We're talking down Alpine like this is like a C-tier deck, but both of them have it. They're pretty much identical, and both of them are playing for a spot in the finals here. So surely they have to be doing something correct. And then the next deck here from TangTang, another very similar deck. It is Brit Air with the US ally. And then, shocker, surprise, surprise, the final deck here for TangTang is going to be USA Poland Legions. So basically identical lineups here. Do you think this is going to come down to bans? And do you think these guys are going to target ban the same deck from each other? Or are we going to see, that staggered matchup where we'll avoid the mirrors?
I'm not too sure. When I find myself in this kind of situation, I almost just want to flip a coin to decide what I play, because you have so little information to go off. Your opponent is in the same situation you're in. You're just I don't know, it's too hard to conceive of all the possibilities that you just have to say, okay, whatever, I'm playing my games. I hope it goes well.
All right, and it looks like both players just went with their own conviction, right? They didn't indulge in the mind games, and they just said, which deck do I not want to ban or play against? And in the case of Artemisia, he does not want to play against Brit Air from TangTang, and in the case of TangTang, he does not want to face against those USA Legions. So this brings an interesting question, Berto. What matchup do you think we're going to see first?
It's so hard to say. I would want to play Brit Air into Alpine.
Yeah.
But then if you're considering that, your opponent's considering it. So you're hesitant to play air first?
Oh, we're gonna see the Alpine mirror, right? Because
Maybe.
TangTang is gonna go the double mind game. He's gonna be like, oh, he knows that I know that he knows that I know. So I'm gonna bring Alpine, and I'm gonna say, you know, he's gonna try and avoid bringing Brit Air into the first one. This is interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to avoid all mirrors because I really want to see these decks go against each other, but I think we're going to hit a mirror here in the first match. Let's see if it is correct. No, it is not. It is going to be Brit Air into the Alpine. So Artemisia finding a favorable matchup for his Brit Air deck here in the first match.
Yeah, and with the one-drop Bomber and United We Stand in the opening hand, that is really huge. Ooh, but there is a sudden strike, which helps a lot for TangTang.
Oh yeah, and look at that,
and the Shoob.
That is a good one drop because it does not get killed by the United We Stand.
This is pretty much worst case scenario for Artemisius. Like, you know, usually the way this matchup rolls out, you know, you just get to farm the units, but he has the sudden strike, he has the Nax Shoob, and Artemisius's draws are not so great here. Like,
nope.
I'm also very confused by him keeping the Monty in his opening hand as well. I feel like if Alpine gets to 3 units on the board, you're already at a really rough spot.
Wait a minute. I have a question. Why would he not drop the Panzer 35T and push 2 damage to face and have a unit in the front line instead of playing a naked second Alpini regiment and not drawing a card off it?
So
that feels weird to me.
Yeah, like he wants to ramp up his Alpine as fast as possible to just get it to a point where it's out of control, but I still don't agree with the play. I understand why he made it, but I do agree that it does not seem like the call in that situation.
And now, I mean, that Monty, he could come really in handy right now if Artemisia so chooses. He can pretty much almost lock the entire backline and deliver 4 damage, 5 damage to face.
He decides to trade, which I think is reasonable, because if you go for the Monty play and you push face and you just don't find a finest hour, then it can be really hard to go all the way.
Yeah. But I mean, and again, I mean, he still has the Monty, so he can still do the play this turn if he so chooses. It looks like he opts for it. And finds the Wellington.
Ooh, that's a very nice draw. Why he shouldn't play it this turn though, because he can't attack with it and the RAF, so it actually lowers his total damage. Unless he just wants to trade.
It looks like he does.
Okay.
He just wants to keep the Alpine down.
A little strange not killing the untargetable unit first, but it shouldn't really matter.
I mean, he now has 2 bombers established on the field that can pretty effectively deal with a lot of these threats.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and that is what you wanted to see off the top of your deck if you were Artemisia. Jesus. That comes in handy.
The trades were just a little bit awkward, and then that just moves everything out.
Yep. That gave him pretty much everything he could have asked for. And this is looking dire here for TangTang already.
Yeah, and Artemisia, he isn't forced to play Lend-Lease.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, I'm not too surprised. Artemisia, he doesn't have to use any draw, and so he can just keep Enigma from being a threat as TangTang's card draw.
Yeah, but I mean,
Kills him in 2 turns before Leopold could come down.
That was a quick one.
Yeah.
Man, that close air support off the top, that would have been an entirely different game if he does not find that close air support, because like you said, those trades were extremely awkward, but there is no time being wasted. Of course, it is quite late in the evening in China. We are always so appreciative for these players for staying up for their efforts. But they're not wasting any time getting this one over with. And now Artemisia with a 1-0 lead. And this is going to be the Alpine versus Alpine mirror matchup. And this one could go long, Berto.
It could go fairly long, but in this matchup, snowballs really start to take over quite quick. Like if you're one Alpine unit ahead, that can end up being a difference in like +10/+10 worth of stats over the next 5 or 6 turns, you know?
Yeah.
Here, it's looking really good for Artemisia. TangTang is out of Alpine units in his hand. The Heinkel will be able to farm the 22nd.
I mean, I was going to say,
has card advantage.
Yeah, this does not look good for TangTang at all. He is, and with the 22nd gone, he has no way of through the breach. It's a decent top deck, but he doesn't have a way to activate, the 0 op cost on his Panzer 35T. Just opting to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point? And how does having lower op even help you in this situation when you have nothing else to do with your credits?
Exactly. Could of course come into play a little bit later on in the matchup, but Artemisia going for the buff on the Gebirgs instead of the 4-3.
This is an awkward turn. You probably have to play the Yagged Bomber, but Artemisia is now up a credit. He has all the tempo in the world, all the card advantage.
He can start really powering down these Alpine units. If he drops the second Alpine unit and he finds another 2-drop Alpine unit, that becomes an extremely scary turn.
Yeah, for sure.
Opting instead to go for the... I mean, in what order would you drop these? Would you not want to buff the untargetable unit more?
No, because you want all your units to have 4 attack so that they don't die to the Yagged Bomber in a value trade.
Makes sense. That makes a ton of sense.
Typically, you are right that you want to buff the untargetable unit.
See, this is probably why I don't have as much success as these guys playing Alpine.
Yeah, the small decisions can make a very big impact in such a tempo-centric deck.
Let me check. Is TangTang running in his deck? Yeah, TangTang is running 2 Enigmas, and that's really what he's looking for at the moment.
He needs an Enigma, but Artemisia has all the tools to play around it. He doesn't need to get a bigger hand to close out this game. He can just use the resources that he has.
Did TangTang forget that the Obese is no longer Alpine? He played it in such an order that it seemed like he was trying to get a draw from the second Alpini regiment.
I mean, it could have just been he did it in whatever order because it doesn't actually matter anymore. I'd lean towards giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure he's practiced with this deck and knows.
But I mean, I'm thinking, you're in this spot, your back's up against the wall, you're frustrated, it's late at night, and you see this and just go it off muscle memory alone and go, yeah, I can draw a card and I can drop the Obese, but you were probably correct. And I would say Artemisia doing the right thing here in terms of just clearing the board, saying, I'm just not going to let you get any footing.
Yeah, TangTang, he needs an Enigma this turn, which he doesn't find. He needed to have Enigma and Leopold, probably. Maybe he can still get a Leopold in the next couple of turns, but even if he does, he's still behind on cards. There's the potential for Leopold into Enigma after you refill your opponent's hand, which can be pretty decent. But that would require a massive stroke of luck. But he's at 10 credits next turn. 1 draw. Probably 25 cards left in his deck or so.
That 50 centimeter autocannon is doing a lot of work.
But yeah.
I mean, I think as a unit, it has gotten so much better after the change. Just having three health has made it an extremely valuable unit to have in your deck. And that is just a surrendered TangTang. Yeah. He just doesn't find the Leopold, doesn't find the Enigma, doesn't find the Alpine units he needs. And 2-0 from Artemisia. Artemisia is now taking out No in 5 and TangTang within this tournament. And those are the guys that he is competing for at the top, competing against at the top of the Chinese community. Huge day.
It is huge, and it is crazy how many 2-0s we are seeing.
Yeah.
And it feels kind of strange. It's not like all of these games are blowouts. This matchup, the games were pretty heavily favored in Artemisia's side the whole time. But we've seen a lot of 2-0s where both games were so close. Especially the game between J King and Hue comes to mind.
Yeah. Man, that was absolutely crazy. 2-0 here again. And now we're going to go to the best out of 5. So there's no more 2-0s that are possible. It have to be 3-0s. But
we've seen it before.
We have. And that's going to be interesting. But that means that TangTang is going to be facing off against J King. Our first and second place in the season are facing off for third and fourth place in the OCC, respectively. And then in the grand finals, you have the triumphant return of Hue taking on the up-and-coming Chinese competitor, Artemisia. And if Artemisia is able to beat out Hue here in the finals, he has taken out within this tournament the top 3 Chinese competitors in the game. And he is really making a case that he is actually no longer, as how did Spooz or Vinny put it, like best of the rest. He is now actually the best of the best. So this is a massive, feather in the cap here for Artemisia.